Hey everybody, this is Laurie Meyer from stampedgreetings.com, and today I have a really fun project to share with you. This is an example of one that I made at a recent retreat that I attended, and I want to give credit to Martinette Horner for sharing this project. It is absolutely fabulous. I'm going to open it up for you and show you what is inside. And you may recognize the paper. It's Abigail Rose. And then inside, I have 4 note cards and envelopes, and they are tucked away underneath a really nice kind of portfolio. I started coloring this one. I haven't quite finished it. But before I go on, because I'm not going to be using these products, I did want to let you know what I used to make these really fast. I used the hand-penned petal stamp set and then a sentiment from Lovely You, just so you know what that is. And then, like I mentioned, the paper is from the Abigail Rose collection. It's actually in the annual catalog, and it's stunning, just simply stunning. And I can pull that out really quickly to show you. Wanted to make sure that you know what it is. And also I use the natural finish ribbon, but any kind of ribbon will work on this paper, on this project. And the Abigail Rose is right here. It's on page 131, just gorgeous muted colors. But I am going to switch the paper, and I'm going to show you an example that will be made from some of the paper that is in the Country Floral Lane suite. And I've been using this suite an awful lot. I'm going to be using one of the pieces, actually the one kind of in the middle, this one right here, that is part of the Country Floral Lane 12 by 12 designer series paper. I did, though, because I wanted to make sure that I was ready for today and that I knew the measurements, I knew how to put things together. I did make a few just to show you how different pieces of paper work. I made a couple from the Dandy Designs paper that is in the current celebration as well. And these are the 2 examples. So just fun. 2 different sides of the paper you're going to see on the outside. And when you open them up, you also see those 2 designs on the inside. One thing you may be noticing as I'm showing you these examples is that I have intentionally chosen paper that doesn't have a vertical pattern. You can use vertical pattern paper, but you will have places where those vertical patterns are going to be upside down. It's just the way that this design works. So my recommendation is that you use paper that doesn't have a vertical pattern and something that's a little bit just more neutral. So I thought those were good examples. But I'm going to jump in, and what we're going to do is we are going to construct one of these together. And what I really would suggest is when you are making your piece, that you might want to keep it as a template, because I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to deconstruct this because I want you to see how it was made. I think that will just help us as we go through. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to unwind it, and then we're going to wind it all back up. So this ends up getting tucked in. See how that corner gets tucked in? I'm going to untuck it. I'm going to untuck this side. Unfold, 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 unfold. And I'm back to a 12 by 12. If you haven't noticed, there's no glue involved in this at all. This is a project that will hold itself together and will give you this finished little folio. It's not going to come apart. It works really well, and you don't need any glue. So let's just do this. You're going to need a scoring board. And the easiest kind of scoring board to use for this kind of project is going to be one that will accommodate a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. Just because you're going to want to put that piece of paper into your scoring board. You are going to want to lay this so that when you are looking at the design, and as I am looking at this design, I am choosing the pattern that I want what I'm going to call the primary pattern to be. And when I say primary pattern, it's this one. It's the one that's going to be the binding, and the one that when you are looking at this little folio is going to be on your left. I want the pattern that is going to be on the left side to actually be this. And I'm intentionally doing this. I've already kind of designed the note cards that are on the inside, and I sort of know how I want them to look. And if you have any desire that it goes in a particular direction, even if it's not vertical, just stick it into your scoring board so that you're looking at it this way. Okay. And I'm just making sure that I'm kind of good. I'm going to do it this way. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to make 4 scores. And I will put this in the notes, but you may want to make a quick note of what we're doing. And I'm actually going to scooch that down, and I'm going to tuck this right up here. So you will have those measurements. Keep having to move that light so it's not super, super bright. So the first one we're going to do is at 2 inches, and you're going to go all the way down. You're not going to be able to see me because the camera is going to stop right about at that 5 inches, but that's not a biggie. So you're going to start at 2 inches, and you're just going to score all the way down. And just like normal, when you're doing a scoring board, take your time, and it will make sure that you don't jump the track. So all the way down on 2 inches. Then you're going to go over to 5 3/4. That's going to be your second score line. And again, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom of your page. The next score line is going to be pretty soon after this one. We're not going to have a lot of space in between. This is actually where we're creating that little binding, the piece right here. So the next score is at 6 1/4. So 6 1/4 is where we're going to go ahead and score again. And go all the way down. I know I've mentioned this before, sorry for the repetition, but if you find that the stylus isn't moving well, get a little bit of wax on it. You can even use wax paper. That will help it to move a little bit better on your scoring board. The last one that we want to do is at 10. So you're going to come over here and you're going to do it at 10. And just bring that all the way down as well. So those are our 4 score lines on the first side. Now what we want to do is we need to make 2 score lines, but we need to do those on the other side of the paper. So you're going to move your paper 90 degrees. And I'm just going to move mine 90 degrees counterclockwise. And for that score, we're going to have those at 2 different places. The first one is going to be at 2 1/2. The second one is going to be at 8 1/4. So 2 1/2 is the first one. So right at 2 1/2. And very repetitious, just like on that first side, we're going to bring that all the way down. And then we're going over to 8 1/4. And we're going to go all the way down. All right. So 2 1/2, 8 1/4. That is all the scoring that you're going to need to do to create your note card portfolio. The next steps that will take this piece of paper and transform it into something that looks like this simply involves a scoring bone folder like this and you're going to be manipulating a couple little things with your hands. But other than that, you are pretty much all set to go. Okay. All right. So what I really suggest that you do now is that you take just a couple minutes and just burnish those score lines. And you're going to find that you're going to see some of them a little bit easier on one side of the paper, probably because of the pattern. But just find those score lines and give them a good burnish. This is a project that the better you burnish, the better things are going to lie flat the way you want them to, and they're just going to work a little bit better together. And the side that I'm actually starting on, it doesn't matter which side, is the one that I scored first that has the 4 score lines. It doesn't matter which side I'm starting on, because by the end, I just want to make sure that everything that I just scored has a really nice burnish. So on one side, you're going to have 4 score lines, and on the other side, you're going to have 2. This is a fabulous project to use up the supply. I won't say hoard. Well, I just did say hoard. The supply that we have of designer series paper that is probably in your stash, just like it is in mine. And I've already been looking at some of that paper just to think about what stamp sets and what kinds of ribbons I'm going to use to make these little note card gifts, because they are going to be absolutely fabulous as far as, excuse me, giving them away. Okay. All right, so what we want to do is, once you have those scoring lines nice and burnished, make sure that you have your paper on the side that you want for the middle. Again, that's going to be, for me, in this example, it would be the orange, this part right here. And also make sure that when you are looking at your paper, that those skinny score lines that we did in the middle, that they're vertical. So I'm looking at the side that I want to be in the middle, and I'm looking at it where those score lines are vertical. Now, what you're going to want to do, and this is the first thing that we're going to do, and I've deconstructed, so I'm showing you the deconstructed, is on each of the corners, I'm going to hold this up, you're going to fold to the score line. The skinny scores are in the middle. You've got your scored line on the side, and you're going to fold that corner. It is not going to meet where that score line is, the next score line. Don't worry about that. All you're trying to do is take the page that looked like that initially, and you're going to fold it so that the edge is right up against the score line. And you're going to do that on each of your corners. So that's going to be the bottom. That's going to be the top. So I'm going to do it on this one. I'm going to start on the bottom right. And again, I'm looking at it so I get those skinny score lines going vertical. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the corner, that bottom corner, and here's my score line right there. And I'm just folding that piece so that it is right up against that score line. See how it's right by that score line, but it's not going to make a perfect square or anything like that. Don't worry about that. Get your bone folder out and give that just a nice little burnish as well. Then you're going to move over to the next one. These are the only folds that are involved. The only corner folds that are involved. And I'm just taking it and I'm folding it. So I've got that one right by the corner as well. And I'm going to give that a nice little burnish. All right. And again, I'm just, telling you that those two fun little skinny little score lines are in the middle. I'm going to flip that around. So the ones that I did are up at the top. I'm doing the same thing down at the bottom. And I'm just going to fold those right in at the corners and burnish. And fold them in at the corner. And burnish. All right, so now this is where we are. Now I can't get everything on my camera, but in a minute, that's really not going to matter. Okay. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take, you're still looking at it so you have the pattern that you want in the middle, and you're going to fold the side over. So I'm folding that side completely over, and I'm going to burnish that. I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to fold that over, and I'm going to burnish that as well. Okay. So again, I'm still looking at that paper with those skinny score lines in the middle, the corners that I folded. All I've done is I've now just put the folded corners on the inside. And now I'm starting to see how those two pieces are going to work together. Now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to fold my corners in. So here's where I'm going. I'm going to be folding these in and tucking them together. So I'm backing up one step. This is where I was. I'm just going to fold this completely over. And I did turn it 90 degrees, so it's easier for me to get this in the camera. And I'm going to fold on that first score line, and I'm going to burnish again. Let's try to get these kind of nice and flat and tight. And also on that corner, just to get it a little bit easier to work with. And then I'm going to fold the other side as well. And I'm going to burnish that one. I work better with my right hand, which is why I just turned that 90 degrees. And I'm just trying to get this to kind of lie flat-ish. And see where we're going. See how these overlap each other? What you're going to want to do is, the way I prefer to do it is, you've got on either side, you've got a long and a short. I like to put the long into the short. So you're just going to lift up that short, and you're going to pop the long one in there. Pop it around. You've got a long and a short. Lift up the short, pop the long one in, and there's the inside of your portfolio. And now, if you find where those two skinny score lines are, you can go ahead and burnish those. And you're going to end up with your portfolio. And you have the folds on the inside. I'm going to run through this again. I'm going to pretend that this piece, I'm going to deconstruct this. And this is a great way to do this. Once you have this done, keep it. Keep it and use it as a template, or make another one if you're going to use this for a gift. But let's just really quickly go through. Now that you've seen it, it's really good to just kind of look again at what did you do and how did you get there. This is the side I want for the middle. I've got those two skinny scores in the center. I folded my corners just so that they met that score line in the middle. I then folded the edges over. I'm going to flip this completely over now. And I did turn it 90 degrees. I'm going to fold the sides in. And all the way I'm burnishing. I'm going to fold the other side in. I've got a longer side and a shorter side. You can pop whatever one you prefer inside whatever one you prefer. Then you have your two score lines on the inside. You find those score lines and you fold it over and you have your portfolio. Okay. This is just an amazing technique. If you've done this with me, or if you do one and you hold it, I think you're going to find that it is really substantial. It is not going to pop open. And then you have an opportunity to make whatever kind of note cards you might want to do. And I'm just going to show you an example of the note cards that I decided to put together for this particular little folio. And I used the stamp set, the Country Bouquet stamp set. I've used this a lot. Decided to use it one more time. And I really wanted to pull in some of the colors that are in the paper. I did put in some red, which is Poppy Parade, but I primarily used, and this is crazy, you can hardly read that. It's petal pink. It doesn't even look like petal pink anymore. The ink does, but the outside doesn't. But that's petal pink and mint macaron. And the note cards are ones, and I'll show you these in just a second. They're in the annual catalog. Note cards, when they're folded, measure 5 by 3.5. So if you want to make your own note cards, cut a piece of paper that is 7 inches by 5, and you can score at 3.5 on the 7-inch line. And that will give you a really nice size card. The envelopes, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to make your own little note card envelope. The envelopes also come with the note cards that are in the catalog. And for this little portfolio, there's plenty of room to put 2 note cards and 2 envelopes in each side of the folio. It fits really well, doesn't make it feel like it's overstuffed or anything like that. So that is really, really easy to do. There are many ways that you can finish off the folio. And the way that I'm going to do this one is I'm going to use some of the ribbon from the Country Floral Suite. This is called Real Red and Burlap Ribbon. Unfortunately, right now this is on back order, but it should be coming in pretty soon. And I suggest you use somewhere between about 18 to 20 inches of ribbon. And I'm just going to sneak my scoring board back. And the reason I'm doing that is I've got a ruler that's on the scoring board that I can use to measure and cut my ribbon. And I'm also going to use some tear and tape. So I'm going to cut right about 20 inches just to be safe. Might be a little bit too much, but I'd rather have too much than too little. And there are different ways that you can attach your ribbon. You do want it to really adhere pretty well to the portfolio itself, especially if you think that it might get refilled. So my suggestion would be to take your portfolio, the one I just finished is the one I want to use, and I'm going to actually kind of just lay that over on the other side. And I've got my ribbon. I'm going to pinch the center of that ribbon just so I kind of know about where the middle is. And that would be where I'd put that ribbon in the middle of the spine, just to make sure that I can get it in where I want it to be. And then I'm going to take some tear and tape, and I'm going to put some tear and tape onto the folio. And I'm going to try and get that straight as I can. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to put my tear and tape about like that. I'm not going to pull it really tight because I want it to lie down more than pull tight. If I do it really, really tight and I fold the portfolio, the ribbon could kind of pull on itself. So I've got my tear and tape on there. Getting the wax off, paper off is always a fun little challenge. One side usually works better than the other. And using a scoring tool can help get it off or not. There we go. All right. And I am standing up so that I can see where that tear and tape is. And then I'm just going to take that ribbon and I'm visually lining up on the designer series paper, kind of where the pattern is, to try and get it sort of straight. So over here on the right, looking at the hearts, over there on the left, looking at the hearts. And then I've got my ribbon, and if I want to, I can tie that into a nice little bow. Now, you don't have to use a bow. You could use Velcro if you wanted to, and you could fasten your portfolio that way. You could use magnets if you wanted to do that. But here I have a nice little bow, and I have my portfolio closed. I'm going to do one more of the folios quickly in just a minute, but I wanted to spend just a second giving you a tip or a way to make your own note card envelopes, since we've already talked about how to make note card cards if you don't want to purchase them, which is obviously perfectly fine. And the way that I suggest that you make an envelope, whenever you make an envelope, you're always going to start with a piece of paper that's cut at the same width and height. It's a square. This paper is 7¼ inches square, and I will write this down for you. I just want to show it to you, but I will make sure that I write it down. I'm putting it into my scoring board where I have the tip in at 5 1/8, and I'm just running my stylus down so that I can make sure that the bottom tip is at 5 1/8. So it's also where that I took my stylus and I started it at the top at 5 1/8, and it's down here at the bottom at 5 1/8. So I know this is straight. And I'm going to score at 7 inches. And I will write all this down. I just want to show you this kind of quickly. So if you want to get your paper ready, you can do that. And at 3 1/4. So you do 2 scores, 3 1/4, and at 7. And then you are going to flip your paper. You're going to do the same thing and put it at 5 1/8. The point at the top, the point at the bottom. And this time you're going to score at 7 3/4. Don't worry about this. I will give you those measurements in 2 1/2. And this is a handy thing to know anyway, because if you ever just needed a quick note card envelope and you didn't have one, you would be able to make one on your own. And then you're simply going to burnish all of your scores. Then you'll have a choice whether you want to cut out the corners or simply fold them in. So here would be an example of an envelope. I could cut off that little piece that is showing in the top. And let me show you how a card would fit. So your card would fit right inside, and you would have an envelope that you could use and you could mail. So I will show you, I will give you those dimensions, but you definitely can make your own envelopes. The envelopes that Stampin' Up! Has are in the annual catalog. They are on page 137. They come in packages of 20 cards and 20 envelopes, either in basic white or very vanilla. And for 20 cards and 20 envelopes, they're $7. And I think that's a really, really good bargain. So back to the note cards just for a minute. I just used my Country Bouquet, the colors that I showed you. I used my Stamparatus because I definitely wanted the hearts to be offset a little bit. I also used my scoring board down at the bottom to put a little bit of interest, and have just wanted to say, I love that we're friends. And I thought that would be a really sweet card to send to just about anybody, for them to send off to other family and friends in a really, really nice little portfolio. So that is how to make the card holder portfolio. The note cards, you can either get a package or make your own. And the envelopes, you can either get those with the note cards, or you can make your own as well. And then you have options of how you would like to close up the note card holder with different ribbons. I think this width is really good. It's, I think, about 1/2 inch. It's just nice to be able to tie a bow. And that 20 inches of length is pretty accurate as far as being able to get a nice bow tied. So I'm going to do one more. I'm actually going to show you what using a piece of patterned paper that has a design that is going up and down would look like, because I want to make sure that you can have choices. It's always good to have choices. So I'm starting with a brand new piece of paper, and we're going to do this one more time together. So here's your little cheating measurements. This is the side that I'm going to have in the middle, and I'm going to do 2 inches. So 2 inches all the way down. Make sure I have that held in here pretty well. So 2 inches, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, and 10. I am going to rotate this 90 degrees, and I'm going to make 2 score lines. One at 2 1/2, one at 8 1/4. I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to burnish all of those score lines pretty well. And I hope that as you're doing this with me, that you are thinking about all the paper you have, the color combinations, the people who would really appreciate a very thoughtful gift like this, and the ribbon that you probably also have in your stash that will go with the paper that you have in your stash. And the fact that you're going to be able to make some amazing gifts by shopping your own supplies. I am very excited about doing the same thing. And, you know, even Valentine's Day, some really nice little Valentine cards that maybe somebody you know hasn't been able to get out and get Valentine cards or make their own. This would be a great thing to give to that person. So I'm almost done burnishing my score lines. I know we've done this once already, but I really want to make sure that this is stuck in your mind. So I've got this now on the side that I want as the middle. This is going to be my binding. And I also have it so those two skinny score lines are vertical. I'm going to take and I'm going to fold my corners. And I'm going to do that on each of the corners. The first time I did this, I thought, this is craziness. This is not going to look right. Why wouldn't I be bringing that up to the score line? But then I thought, okay, the person who is telling me what to do knows what she's talking about. So I am just going to go with it. And I'm glad I did. So again, I'm just going to that first little score line, giving that a nice burnish. I love this paper. I need to order more because I have made so many cards with it. And I want to make sure that I get at least a little bit more. It's not on back order right now, but I know it is super, super popular. Okay. Corners folded. Middle score lines. I'm going to fold both of these sides in. And I'm going to burnish them. These are the sides where you can see on the other side I folded my corners. I'm going to fold this one in too. And again, I got to this point when I was first making it thinking this looks really weird. But it works. This now gets flipped over completely. Flipped over. And for me, I just like to move it this way. I don't know why, but it just works better for me. So I just flipped it over and I moved it 90 degrees. And now I'm going to take these sides and fold them in. And just give them a nice little burnish as well. If you burnish while you're doing this, you're going to find that things lay flatter and you're going to be much, much happier with the end result. Just take it from what I'm telling you. And then I turn that so that I can fold the other side in. And I'm going to do the same thing. And fold that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and tuck these together. Tucking the little one into the big. And then I'm going to fold in on that center. And fold in on the center. Now, here's my folio. This is one that I just did, and I showed you what it would look like if you have pattern paper that's going vertical. Look what happens when I open it up. Right? If you don't mind that, yay, you're good. That's just the way the pattern paper is going to work, because you've got a piece that's going vertically and then you're folding it up and under. So you're going to see it upside down. Honestly, if you put cards in, let me show you the cards that I put in the other one. Will anybody notice? Maybe. Will anybody care? Probably not. I mean, you can't really even tell that they're hearts by the time you're looking at what's on the inside. So it's up to you. It really is up to you. I tend to use paper that doesn't have a pattern when I'm making these. But there you go, because you can see that that's what it would look like with a vertical pattern. So now that you have made one, you have an example. You can see what these all look like when they are all put together. And you can appreciate how fun and frankly how easy they are. Once you've done a couple of these, they're pretty straightforward. They're not gonna trip you up. They're just really fun to do and a gorgeous, gorgeous gift that you can give to a friend or a family member. So these are all the ones that we just kind of did. And I just encourage you to look at the paper you have, the stamps you have, and make some beautiful note card holders that you would be proud to share and give as gifts. And when you make them, think about the designs that you can put together from the stamps that you have. And I think you're really going to have fun making these folios and creating some beautiful note cards to go with them. And I would love to see what you make. Until next time, Inky hugs.